Liberty Flights sponsors 10-Year Tip with Garry Dibley.
And good evening. We are back in the room once again, and tonight it is a Thursday night. It's 9 o'clock, and it is time to tin your tip with myself, Garry Dibley, and the ever capable poorly boy modmaster. That is Mark. Yeah, unfortunately, Mark has been a little bit poorly, and we all wish him our very best in a speedy recovery, which is sort of meant this week we're going to revisit a little bit of something that's good. Something that's good, but yeah, Mark, we hope you are on the mend too. And Mark is still, working away in the background. He's doing all the backgroundy stuff. Tonight it is obviously the launch of the World Cup, and as expected, there are not that many people live in chat. If you're watching this on the replay, you totally missed out, because tonight we are going to be giving away a car. It may be courtesy of Matchbox, but we may well do it. Don't know. If somebody can guess what we're making a little bit later, then I'll give them a car. It might be about that big, probably about that big. But yes, what have we got lined up for you this week? This week, Mark is going to be showing you how to make a rather nice stand, and obviously the one that he makes can be adapted for many purposes, both mods, juice, and drip tips type stuff. And I've got a little bit of stuff going on that we may well run a competition on a little bit later. It's sort of like, can you guess what I'm making? I do get to grips with Bob's Hairy Box. Sorry, I have totally renamed it that because of the hair. Yeah, it's going to be all good stuff, hopefully. In between that, I may well have a little glance this way at the first game that's going on, but I'll promise I'll give you my undivided attention while I am here. Let's crack on, and I'll be back in a little bit.
Now, a few people were disappointed at the end of last week's show that they didn't get to see the stand fully loaded with a load of atomizers and drip tips and whatever. And as I hate to disappoint, I thought I'd better show you it. So there you have it. Of course, one of the drip tips falls out. The biggest problem you'll find is the variance in sizes of drip tips. There is a massive difference between one drip tip and another quite often, which is why it's a good idea to have quite a few drip tips handy so that you can match a drip tip to a particular device. As you can see, everything holds in nicely. So I hope that's made you happy at the very least. Right, on with the proper show now. Now, this week, before I get started, I want to address a couple of things that came up in chat during last week's show that I wasn't able to answer as I wasn't around at the time. The first is, I may have given the impression that it's harder to cut this with the Dremel than it actually is. That's due to the fact I was using a blade which is completely worn out. Unfortunately, it was the only one I had at the time. I've worn this one out making stands for the knees meet, and I've made rather a lot, and these are a disposable product, so you will want replacements, which I've now remedied, and I'll show you when I make this one that it is quite easy to use that blade. And a question came up related to that of, would it be easier to use a jigsaw? and from my experience I'd say no. The jigsaw's quite a violent cutting blade. The movement up and down is quite severe, and it has a tendency to rip at the plastic rather than cutting it, and if it catches there is a very real danger that it's just going to shatter the plastic around it. And if I'm honest, you can't really get the fine control that you need to get a nice smooth curve with a jigsaw. So that's why I use the Dremel. So, out of the way, onto this week. I've been asked to make, if I could make, a stand for juice bottles. Specifically, in this case, 30ml juice bottles. So that's what I'm going to try and do. I've never tried anything like this before, but here we go. So, what I'm intending to do is have a base and a raised platform above it with the holes cut in for the juice bottles to stand in. And I've worked out a pattern that will give space for 4 bottles along the back, 4 bottles along the front, and 1 in the centre. And then I'm going to use these 8mm diameter perspex rods. These are 50 millimeters in length. I'm going to use 3, but at this point I'm still not 100% certain of where these are going to go. I'm planning on 2 at the back and 1 will be at the front along the centre line, but I'm not exactly certain until I've got all the holes cut out where this will go. So it's going to be a wait and see, I think. For this, the juice bottles are 30mm wide, so I'm going to be using this monster of a metric step drill bit and taking it almost to the end, which should be fun. The main things I need to be careful of with this is to make sure that the base and the top are the exact same shape, so it looks right, and that the holes for the pillars, which will be drilled through both sheets so that they sit flush with the tops of the bottoms, they have to match up exactly. So I'm going to have to drill through from one to the other, just to make absolutely certain. So, that out of the way. First job is to cut out the holes. Now I'm going to be using a nice fresh blade with the mains rotary cutter, because this has got a better speed control and get a fine control over it. So I've set it the way I want it, so let's get it and cut. And it'll cut off as easy as that. A little bit of loose plastic on it, and that'll be a nice clean edge, which won't take up too much time to sand down to a good surface. And as I've said before, be careful of the speed that you use, because if the speed gets too high it just starts melting through and you'll lose the straight edge and it'll just be a mess basically. So I'm going to cut out the rest of these. I'm sure you don't want to sit here watching me do that all day. I'll be back when they're all done.
And when the camera settles, we're back in the room once again. Now I've got the majority of my parts for this Bob's sweaty box. Oh no, it's Bob's hairy box that we were doing. We're going to come back to that in a little bit. I'm going to try and not move this around because this new tripod is driving me potty, and I do need to get a new one. I've got a monopod thing, and it's not working at all. I'll come back to that. The reason I'm down on here, and you may well see, we have a vast array of components and a board. This is in fact a kit board. It's a board that comes in kit form for those who like playing with wires and stuff. Now I know you're going to ask, what the hell are you doing, Dibley? And what the hell has that got to do with vaping? I can assure you this has a lot to do with vaping if it works. If this board and the jiggery pokery we're going to do with this box and these terminals and all that sort of stuff come together, it should work very nicely. I'm hoping. I've done my research, I've done my own work. I'm not going to tell you what it is. It's not I can't tell you. I'm not going to tell you. But if you can guess along the way, every day's. It's not a competition, so don't go mental. The reason for this is again coming back to a little bit about soldering, and that's what we're going to be doing on the box as well. I've been waiting for parts so long. I've ignored it, and sorry, Bob. But without the parts here, I didn't want to take it apart and lose bits and pieces. So I'll be coming back to that later. A lot of people. There's been at least sort of 5-6 people this week going, you know, again, you and Mark make soldering look so easy. How come? Blah 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 blah. I don't know. It's practice. It is practice. But I'm going to start piecing this together, and hopefully by piecing this together, I'm going to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I need to get my arse in gear building this board, and like I say, I know people are going to go nothing to do with vaping, but I can assure you it most definitely is. So we're down on our board here. Now I've removed, I've had to remove a mark so you can't guess what it is. But essentially this is a board that comes in kit form. I like bloody blast. And I've got a drawing, a circuit diagram, although this is very well marked out. I don't know how close I can get to. That's probably about it. But it's very well marked out as to what it needs, and there's a little chip holder and a little chip that goes in, and there's one of these big boys, and this and the other is supplied by a 12-volt supply, and has things written on it like pause and pulse, to give you a little clue, but you're never going to get it. So the purpose of this is I've got my diagram up, and I'm just going to go through, because if you're talking about modding a DNA or something like that, rather than looking at an actual DNA, which I'm going to do at some point in the future, this sort of thing, which is a hobby kit that you can get, and you can get these to do lots and lots of different things. So, you know, and they're relatively cheap online. So something like this is ideal if you want to have a practice for soldering. And making something. You can make little radios, you can make all sorts of stuff. So it doesn't necessarily have to be vaping if you want to hone your skills to make mods, if you get me. When I was an apprentice engineer a long time ago, I can still remember it very vividly though, it taught me a lot of things about soldering, and what we used to do. I'm just sticking a component in while I'm going. What we used to do back then in our classes was to look at you know, how to solder and stuff. And as you see, I've just put that resistor on the board, and I've just bent my pins over for now. The reason for that is to hold it tight. Now I don't know, like I said, how low I can go, but I'll try and get it down as low as I can. And like I say, these little project boards are brilliant for playing and playing with the solder. What I'm going to do is just tin up my tip. Now I'm cleaning my tip as I go. I've got this heated to about 400 degrees C. You've got to be very, very careful when you're working with these small components, as you do on the DNA board. The less time you can actually be in contact with what you're soldering, the better. I'm just going to tin the tip. I'm just going to pop down, and it's got to get down quite low, and just a little dab on the board. Again, tin the tip, and down on the board, and that component's in. I'm just going to leave that in situ for a second while I grab a very, very small diode. Now, like I say, this board is labelled up very, very well. Why do I always say very? I don't know why. I noticed it on the replays. I use very quite a lot. Very, very. It sounds like a donkey. I'm sure I sound like a donkey most of the time, but no one complains. Well, the wife does. Again, let me just put this other component in, bending them out. I know some people will probably tell me this is wrong. You shouldn't bend those while you're doing this. I don't care. It's the way that I do it, and then I'll snip them off after. So I'm just tinning my tip, down on what we're soldering, a little dibba dab do ya, and just feed it into the joint. And those two. Totally off. Those two little components are now in. I'm going to get my snips and trim those off all over the place. Hard to find the camera tonight. And now they're in, you can pull them back up to trim them. Dropping pliers and everything. I say, I'm not the neatest of solderers. I don't proclaim to be a super solderer. I never have done. We make it look easy because we practice. And I may be a sad old git, but you know, doing things like this, I quite enjoy. A little challenge. There's a little pot going in the board now. And that one's a bit different. That one has got a floaty bit, so I can see that that's floating around that board, yeah, on there. And because I want the component to be obviously in relatively stable, I'm just going to try and support the other end of the board. Tell you what I need to do. Yeah, what I would normally do with something like that is if that's rocking around, if I solder it wrong way up, yeah, can't find the camera. The chances are it could end up at cockeyed angle like that. It needs to be nice and flat, it needs to be down. So I'd pop that over and support the board under there while I'm soldering that on. A little bit about soldering. I'm going to probably talk a little bit now about desoldering, because at some point that is something that we will need to do. It's all about tinning, dabbing and dopering. When you're done, check for dry joints. Very easy. Look around the joint. If there are any cracks, any blemishes, any this, that and the other, the solder should be looking like it's flowed on there, looking like it's still liquid. You know, no cracks, nothing. A little bit about soldering. Don't know how in depth you can go with it. Practice. Buy something like this board and have a play. You know, lots of kits, like I say. Lots of different kits. You can make many different things. I'm going to pop away and I'll come back in 2. And there we go. We are back in the room once again. We've had a few guesses come in as to what that board is and what it's going to be used for. Let's make it interesting. Tell what I'll do. I'll put a prize up. If anybody actually guesses by the end of the show correctly, before I show you it working, what that is that we're making, I'll send you a prize. How's that? It'd be a nice little prize. It would be a surprise prize. So if anybody does guess correctly before the end of the show, we shall give something away. Don't know what it is. I'll find something. Yeah, some stuff. I've got a pen. It won't be that. I made that. That's on the lathe. This one. How's that? Little nice little pen on the lathe. Yes, we need to take an ad break because that first little section went on. It went quicker. I haven't been watching football. I should be, but I'm not. I'm resisting. I will turn it on after the show. Let's slip into our first little ad break, if I can find where the hell I put it, and we'll come back very shortly after this.
Liberty Flight sponsors 10-Year Tip with Garry Dibley. iVapor and iVapor Elixir, based in Yorkshire, for your e-cig needs. That's ivapor.co.uk and ivapor-elixir.co.uk. iVapor and ivapor-elixir.co.uk, proud sponsors of vaportrails.tv. Liberty Flight sponsors 10-Year Tip with Garry Dibley.
And there we go. We are back in the room once again. And I've been joined by a little guest. Now, I need to get the finger right. I don't know which one it is, because it's all better. Is that one? No, there it is. That there. Is coming up I think it's about 8 weeks now, till Vapefest. And I'm 90% of the way there with all of my stuff I need to take. I've got my tent. I've got a tent. And I've got a hammer to put the tent in the ground, and all that sort of stuff. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of info on Vapefest 2014. I think it's about 8 weeks. It was 8 weeks on Monday, I believe. It is going to be huge. Some of you out there will be pleased to know that there will, hopefully this year, there won't be massive queues for the first people through the door to get free stuff. It's going to be given out over the course of the day. And what that means, there won't be people queuing. Last year there were people there at 6 in the morning queuing to get in to get a bag of stuff. There will be golden tickets given away. I think there's 5 golden tickets. Don't quote me on that. I don't know. I need to double check. Golden tickets, you get the golden ticket in your bag. You get a big prize. It's like the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I'll tell you what, it will be good. Let me just show you the layout for this year's Vapefest. And I was trying to put together a video, but this week ran away with me. This is the layout of Vapefest. The little green triangles you see to the left of your screen are the camping areas. I want to get my tent very close to a toilet area, which I don't know whether they will. And then you've got a big drag through the middle. That's going to be where all of the vendors are. Now they will be pointing their stands out to the walkways, so it makes it very easy for people to walk around and have a look. There is an emergency first aid tent, there is disabled access right the way through, disabled toilets, this, that and the other. So yes, there's free camping on the Friday night, there's free camping on the Saturday night. It's going to be a damn good thing. Lots and lots of parking, as you can see, and the River Severn. So it runs, just around it type thing. I got an inflatable kayak last year, and after Vapefest, if I do take it, you may never see me ever again, because I might actually try it on the river, given enough beers. That may be the first time I actually get it on the water, but it's nice. It's in Shrewsbury, and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, well, I'll give you a bit more of an update as we go. I'm going to try to put a little video together of everything that's going to be there. There's loads of vendors attending this year, lots and lots and lots, and loads of people supporting. So it will be good. I'm going to be there. I've got a little standy thing going on with Jim, so it should be fun. We had fun last year, and hopefully we'll have fun this year. be great to see you all. I'll be there with a camera and all that sort of stuff, and come and see us, and we'll get you on. Hopefully, I'm going to do a little thingy for here. Right, cracking on. Let's crack on with Mark's little standy mod. See you in 2.
Now, as you see, I've cut out both the pieces now, and I took this opportunity to sand down the edges so that they all match pretty much, and there's maybe it's half a mil difference. I got them the same way by sticking a bit of tape over both of the ends, which I knew were square, because I haven't touched these are the original sides of the board. So I taped them together and then just sanded across the top and the bottom with them in place to get them to match up. So they're close enough, especially when you consider they're going to be separated. You'll be able to tell. So I don't need that for the moment. The next job I need to do is drill the holes for the bottles. I'm going to do that first so I can work out where the holes for the columns are going to go exactly. So I need my 2mm drill bit to drill all the pilot holes, and I apologise if this looks a bit confusing as to what's marked out where, but over the course of laying this out I've tried a couple of different positions, and just basically by putting bottles on different points, trying to work out what's going to fit and what won't. So I've marked out there with the numbers 1 to 4 and then up to 8 there, the central one. What I think will work, but I won't know until I'm finished, I think. So all done. And that's all of the pilot holes drilled. So I'm not going to touch the ones for the columns because they need to go in later. So onto this rather large bit, which only just fits into this drill. So I'll start off with the central hole. This is going to be tougher than I thought. Lost all control today. This one doesn't seem to be working nearly as well as the other ones I've got. I may have to look at getting this sharpened at some point, but you get the idea. I'll drill this out and I'll be back when I finish these all. And I'm back, and as you'll see I haven't quite finished drilling the holes out yet. And this is because I've run into a little bit of a problem. You see, I've got the full-size 32mm hole here, which will fit a bottle through nicely, no problem at all. These I can't get to the right size because I've failed to take into account a few very important things. size for one, obviously. When I planned this out, I made all the measurements from the edges, but I had to sand down the edges to match up the top and the bottom, and obviously cutting as well. You can sometimes wander across the line slightly, so I've ended up far too close. So there's nothing I can do with these two holes. They're finished with. They will take a 20ml bottle, no problem. So you now have space for two 20ml bottles on the end. The rest I'm trying re-drilling pilot holes further in from the edge to allow for it, and drilling through them instead of the original ones, and that seems to be working. I'm just waiting on the drill charging up to finish these off, because drilling holes of this size is also not very easy with a cordless drill at the very least, and the mains drill will probably be too fast for the plastic and you end up melting or ripping. So it's just a slow, laborious process you've got to go through, but we will get there shortly with a modified design, it appears. Let's see how we go.
And there we go, we're back in the room, and you can see I've literally just finished soldering it up. So I've got a board now that's how it should be. Any clues yet? 12 volt DC in, switching on the out, pulse and pause. And a little bit of soldering on the back. I've left out the LED on purpose. Reason I've left out the LED is because the LED is going to be box mounted as a power LED, as is a green light for something else, as are these two bits going to be poking out of there. Lots of stuff. If I can tell you what it is at some point, I will do. I might show you the finished product, but that's not what we're here for. That was a little bit about soldering. Can't even say it. Well, I had a cock up in there. I found out that the little chip thingy had a leg missing, so I had to hardwire the chip in, which was a pain in the arse. But there we go. Let me put that in there, that in there, that in there. All done. I'm going to stick that away to one side with all the parts, and I'm going to be sticking 12 volts through that a little bit later. I love the on-off switch. Big mole. To be able to handle the 12 volts DC. So that's a project to one side. Right, on with soldering. And let me have a look at Bob's box, or the Airy mod as we're calling it. Now, I don't know if you can see that down inside there on here, we were saying when we were looking at this a long time ago, there is a bloody great blob of solder that's probably helping hold this ATI connection in. Now, I don't know how the hell I'm going to get this on camera. Even remotely. I might have to do it upside down, and that would be silly, because then I just can't see sort of. I'm going to have to put it that way and hope for the best. Right, I have got another thing that's very, very useful with, I said it again, very, very, got to stop saying very. It's annoying. Right, we've got this stuff. Braid. Now, braid is impregnated. I do like that word. It probably explains why I've got 48 children. No, this is impregnated with a little sort of resiny stuff, I do believe. And this is a solder sucker. You heat this, you put it on solder, and it draws the solder into the core. So I am going to be trying this on Bob's Airy box. And just stick that. If you don't know why this is called a hairy box, watch the replays. I'm just going to try and see if I can relieve some of that solder. It's going to be jumping around all over the place, but I've got to try and get it off. Got to try and get rid of it, because I think it's holding in the 510 connection, which isn't that good. And because this has been coated in all sorts, it's not giving it up easy, I tell you. And just hold it on for a bit, see if I can get some sockage going. Get some of it off. you obviously have to heat it, and it should draw the solder into the pad. Now this is quite ancient, this stuff, so I might have to go for the old-fashioned sucker. Or I might have to stick the iron up a notch. There we go. Now we're sucking. Yeah, we're starting to suck now. Probably totally just mullered that off shot. It's hard because this isn't the angle I'd work at here, and I'm trying so hard not to burn anything inside the box. It's just not working. I need to probably crank the iron up a bit. No smart ass comments from you should use it that way. God, I can smell some burning. Don't know what it is, but it's not very pleasant, Bob. I don't know what you've had in your box, son. See, because this isn't mine, I'm probably a bit more conscious than I would be normally about mullering stuff. I reckon the flux that's in here has just shot to buggery. Now, did I see some movement then? I'm hoping I did. Because what I'm hoping for is by removing this, I'm going to be hopefully releasing the... I'll go up because that's just annoying. You get the drift at what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get this bloody connector out. I might need to get some new solder pad. I'm going to tackle it a different way by just trying to get this wire off to start with. I just need to ease up. Now I'm going to keep recording this. I could go away and edit it, but it sort of goes to show the pains in the bums you can come up against when you're trying to do something. I've just got a little bit of fine nose pliers or twists down in there. I'm probably going to have to redo this wiring as we get this out and back in again. But for now I need to try and get this, relieve this wire. And like I say, it's very, very well made on the internals, this. But that's come off now. And all that does is that's going round to the neg connection back up there. And once this is out, there's probably going to be a bit of jiggery pokery to do. I think the switch needs possibly looking at as well. There's lots of fun to be had there. I might have to do some filing and God knows what to get this out. It's definitely not going to be an easy one. I might have to revisit plan B with this and see where I go with it. Yeah, pause is going up. Yeah, like I say, all good fun, or not very much. This one's going to be interesting, I think. It's a pain in the arse, it's not interesting. Bob, I hate you for challenging me. I might have to try and get some grips on this with something protective on it and see if I can ease this out. It's not playing ball. I'll pop away, I'll come back in 2. I'm sorry about that, that was as boring as hell. But it's, you know, if you're going to be mudding something, there is pain, and you've just watched part of my pain. Back in 2. And there we go, we're back in the room once again. You will see I was having a little blonde moment there with my braid. I now know it's called braid. I know that. I've used the damn stuff for years. Yeah, I found it in the bottom of a drawer, and it's probably been there for a very, very long time, and it was crap, basically, best way to put it. you'll see later that I did find some new stuff. But yeah, terrible. It should have worked. Normally that stuff works by, it's got the resin stuff in it, and you touch it and it just sucks it up. The other way of using it is, I could have used a solder sucker. But I thought, what the hell? What's the point in breaking what I'm doing? You can see it being done wrong, which is the point of some of these shows. We like to show our cock-ups as well as our successes. I think there's many more cock-ups to come, to be honest with you, with stuff. There's how you learn. To be honest, if you don't cock something up, you don't learn from your experience. The first time I had the lathe, I touched something that I shouldn't have done, and it bleeding well hurt, and you don't put your finger there again. Simple as that. Same thing with modding. You learn by your mistakes. That is the fun of modding. That's the fun of making things. You'll drill something once and make a right mess of it, and you won't do it again. Trust me. Let's pop into our second break. We'll pop back into
Liberty Flight sponsors 10-year tip with Garry Dibley. Liberty Flight sponsors 10-year tip with Garry Dibley.
And there we go. We're back in the room once again. I'd love to say it's very nice to see somebody tuning in from the US. Obviously we're live in the UK, and the time difference and all that is lovely to see people tuning in and actually taking an interest from right across the pond. So yeah, spread the word. We're great. I think possibly, maybe we may not be, but it all looks good. Let's crack on with the show, because I think I'm going to run a little bit over ish. I probably waffled far too much tonight, and I was worrying about what I was going to say, etc, etc. So let's crack into Mark's final bit of his doofy what's it ding dong stand, and then we'll come back to Bob's hairy box.
Right then, after what I can only describe as some severely heart-stopping moments, I eventually managed to drill out 32mm holes for those 7, and the 2 smaller ones still for them. Now, I don't know how well you'll be able to see, but some of these holes come incredibly close to the edging and to each other. I've taken out a massive amount of this perspex, and I was expecting it to just crack at any moment. I don't think I'll be making another one of these after I've done this one. This is definitely going to be a one-off for me. So, as you can see, it's made a real mess of the surface. But I've drilled pilot holes in this for the 3 posts. I've got them in a position I'm happy with. So I need to drill it all the way through. So, making sure that I line up 2 of them in the correct orientation, finding the drill. I just need to drill through this pilot hole into the other one, into the other surface. That's pilot hole drilled. So now, as I'm using 8mm wide rod I need to make an 8mm hole, so this metric step I've marked out to 8mm ready. So I've taped the two bits together just to make sure that they don't move, and I need to try and drill straight through this. As simple as that. Hopefully now I should have something I can work with. If I move all of this, you get a better idea of the pattern now. That does look rather nice. Of course, these will not actually fit through, as they're pretty close to the size. Just slightly off, so I'm going to need to sand these out slightly, just to clean off the edges and get them through. So I've sanded off the edges for all the holes, including these three, so they're now the right size, and these ones. So it's just a matter of putting it together. So I want to fix these so that they're flush with the top, so any slight differences in size will be hidden by the bottom bits. It's just going to be a matter of pushing them into place. I'm just doing it by feel. They are flush, and the moment of truth time. I'll be fitting them into the bases. So after a bit of fiddling around, that's them all into position, into a level that I'm happy with. This one's not quite straight, it's off its slight angle, but it fits. That's all that matters. So to fix them all in place, I'm going to be using some of this, which is a plastic weld suitable for this type of material, and what it'll do is basically melt the two parts together. It's more of a what's the word I'm looking for? Solvent. That's all. It's more of a solvent than a glue. So it's just a case of running a bead around the edge, and it will be soaked into the gap. This stuff sets very quickly, it dries off very quickly, I should say, and leaves an incredibly strong bond from the practice I've had with it. It's every bit as strong as the original material, I think. So I shall do that. I want to do it on the base the same, and I need to do the underside all the way around to give it a good firm seating. I'll be back when it's all glued up and I'll show you the finished product. So there you go, it's had literally seconds to dry, and basically once it all evaporates off, that's it set. So now I need to add some feet, and probably the best place is over the 3 posts, as it just cleans up that area. And there you go. That's complete, and those are the wrong bottles. No, it's the wrong holes. I'm really nervous there for a minute. So I have 7 devices, 7 bottles in, There's a 20ml bottle there, and just for the heck of it, you can stick your mod in there as well if you really want to. But I won't. There you have it. Nice, quick, simple juice stand. If you believe that, you'll believe anything.
And there we go, we're back in the room. Should I edit that out? Yeah, no, leave it in. Apologies, excuse me, bless my pardon, and all that stuff. Yes, I had wind. Can't be helped. People have it. It's just as well it didn't come out the other end. Right, I have now relieved all of the solder from the inside of here. Now, what I'm going to do is give it a Bob, if you're watching, please look away. Please, 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 please look away. Now, I need to go and get a sharp tool. I'm over the other side of the workshop, he says, looking for a tool that he hasn't got. Yes, he has. There's Stanley. Right, what I'm going to do very quickly is I'm just going to cut, because it's not mine, and all of that sort of stuff. I need to cut a chunk of stuff off. I need to get a bit of. I've got some leather. Now, I'm just going to do a little strip with the knife. Bear with me 1 sec. And I'll tell you what, if you ever get rid of an old leather sofa, like we did, don't just, I don't know, easiest way to get, I chainsawed it in the front room, you know what I'm like, and I stripped all the leather off, and my wife said, what the hell are you doing with that? Well, my first plan was a cat suit, not for me obviously, but I decided to keep the leather. It comes in handy. I've done lots of things with little bits of leather that I'm not going into detail on this show. A little bit of leather though should protect up this end piece, and what I'm going to do is just wrap that tightly around here. Now, this probably would be a good point if you're watching Bob to look away on the replay or on the anything that you're watching it on. I'm bringing in the grips, and I'm just going to grip it ever so slightly, and I'm just going to try and that's easier than I bloody thought it would be, to be honest with you. Now, I'm obviously being careful because this isn't my wood. There. And out she blows. So we have our little squonking connector. Oh, I'll tell you what. Look at this. Look. This is what squonking does. Look at it. That wasn't me, by the way. That was already there. It was Bob, trust me. So was the big gouge out of the. No, joking. Yes, I think I'm going to get a new T-shirt for Vapefest that says "Squonkers are dirty." Look at that. Obviously, when you're firing juice up through a hole, and obviously this bit isn't sealed. Obviously, it can't have been sealed, not in the mod, but it can't have been sealed that well down in and around the Atty connector. You know, I would have thought a bit of, there may be a rubber in there, I don't know, but to get that much leakage and then get it back down in here, and that's probably why it's well protected with all the rubber, to be honest with you. So rubber designed to compensate for leakage. But yes, we have that out, and next little sort of, oh, it's even got a crust. Oh no, it hasn't. Is that? It is. It's a crusty layer. Oh, that's glue. Okay. No more hairs, I'm happy to add. So I'm assuming that this has probably been well and truly hammered home through here. And next little feat is going to be to try and get this this Atty connection out. Now I'm probably going to do it off screen. I don't want to muller this just in case I have to put the thing back together. And I'm probably going to have to run some new cables down here anyway for the battery terminals and all that sort of stuff. Happy days, as well as turning. Hopefully next week what we'll be doing is I will have relieved this 510 connection. He says, mind you, if it come out as easy as that come out of there, which wasn't that bad, and I now know obviously that the 510 is holding the and that solder, like I thought, that solder was acting as a way of holding that in, as well as probably glue. But with the amount of juice and stuff that's in there, unless you're using a decent glue, that would have eaten away at the glue. I can only assume that was definitely glued in, because there's a layer of glue around it. But the juice has eaten that away big time, big time. A bit of cleaning with the lever, and you can probably see where the glue was. That's where your glue was. Give that top of that box a little clean with the lever, and there's our glue level. But eaten away by liquid. I think it's a good point as well of using the the glue's got to be up to the job. And I'll go back to something like that stuff, Zap-A-Gap, which it will work around all of those bits. Let me pop back into. There we go. Sorry, the reason I had to run away very quickly was my battery was dying in the camera. But yes, we have this out now. Totally forgot where I was going with it, and it was probably waffle anyway. So next week, what we're going to be doing is coming back. We're going to be looking at. Hopefully, I'll have that out. If I can get it out and film it, I will. If not, God only knows. I want to get this 510 out because it's got the tubing, the feeder tube. Which I should be able to get hold of, but it's done so well. Yeah, if I can resurrect this, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to be getting a new switch because despite a lot of testing on this one, and it has been how do we put it, shit. So we will need a new one on there. All good, happy days. Hopefully this will be squonking again next week. While I was there, I did manage to find a brand new bloody one of those in my one of my drawers that I've, I did have. Obviously, all of the flux had run out of the other one. But while I was there, I did manage to find my first ever mod, as in torch mod. This was the first torch mod I ever made, probably back in 2009. It's a 901 connection there. It's got really bad epoxy around it. It still works. It still works. And this was a little torch. I don't know if you remember these, but there we go. So everybody starts somewhere, and look at the state of this. If I show you this, here we go. Well used and abused. That was when the only epoxy I could find was white. Of course, then I found an absolutely stupid mod I made a long time ago, which was the stone. When I had lots of epoxy left over and was playing one day and decided it'd be good to actually stick a battery in a lump of epoxy with some circuitry and a switch on top and a USB charging port on the bottom, and this is a solid mod. You drop that on your foot, it'll break. It looks ugly, but it was actually moulded to my hand. So because it was moulded to my hand, it's got all my little finger dents in it and everything. I loved it while it was going. See, look, years ago this, where are we now? I'm not saying that this influenced anything, but it doesn't half look like some of the stuff now. Right, I'll leave my turd on the bench and I'll pop away and catch you in the studio. Apologies for tonight. All last minute. The stuff has started arriving. We've started stripping out, and we will get that done. Hopefully, if you were lucky enough, well, if you have a punt, tell me what I'm making on the circuit board. Hopefully, the solder stuff was a little bit useful. I'll catch you back in the shed.
And there we go, we are back in the room once again. Yes, so hopefully next week, hopefully Mark will be back to full strength. Coming up on Tin Your Tip in the very near future, I've been talking to very boring. I don't know, mate. I'm sorry. I can't say it. It's hard. I'm not going to say very boring because you're not. It's boring or something like that. It goes. Yeah. You need to teach me how to say it. I've got some of his videos. I've been making a mod with a very nice little chip, and hopefully we will be
There's lots of footage. I'm going to be hopefully talking to him, editing down, and we'll be slipping some of that in during the course of our shows. A little bit of fresh stuff coming in. Yes, next week I'm going to be probably on the lathe. I'm really hoping that I may have to switch the times around next week, or not the times, but I'm trying to swap the day if I can, because there's a very, very big wood turning event that's going on in my local area, literally 2 minutes down the road, and I would like to go. I've been talking to people online, blah 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 blah. Blah 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 and all that sort of stuff. So yes, if we can, obviously we'll let you know. If not, I'll be here. I'll be sulking, but I'll be here. Be on the lathe, turning that sort of stuff, turning the bit for Bob's Mod next week. Only I haven't got a clue what Mark's going to do. Hopefully, he is getting better and on the mend. So yes, best wishes to Mark. Take care, mate, and that's it. It's the end of the show once again. Don't forget to tune in to Vapor Trails all this week, to the RY4 radio and all that sort of stuff. Yes, sorry, it's over. It's been emotional. I'm looking for the titles, and we will be back next week. Take care, guys. Well done for winning the competition. Oh, I'm going to overrun. Sorry, I'm going to do it this time. Right. The mod that we're making is there. It's in this box. It's got two now prongy things on the end. It's running on a 12 volt supply coming in. If I turn it on, you can find the on switch. Don't turn it on. When that lights, it's pulsing, which means there is effectively, this is a switch. And it will go off for a certain amount of time, and after probably around about 30 seconds it should pulse a contact for, there it goes, for around about 5 seconds and turn it off, and it will repeat that time and time again all day long. It's fully adjustable, so you can adjust the pause and the pulse, so it is effectively, and this is why I can't remember who won it, but if you did, you want a prize. There we go, it's pulsing again. So effectively this is a timed pulse switch that will pulse various bits and pieces. You can use, this is a fully automated switch effectively. I'm not going to tell you what it's for, but this will be used for a vaping purpose of such, let's say. Okay. There we go. Now it's time to end. It's been emotional. Thank you very much. Cheers for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in wherever you are. The UK, the US, China. There's no one from China. But, you know, it's all good. All good stuff. Anything you want to see, let us know. Blah, 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 blah. Good night.
Liberty Flight sponsors 10-Year Tip with Garry Dibley.